Thank you, colleagues. We're going to resume this afternoon with portfolio questions. And question 1 and 2 have been with, this is on economy, fair work and culture. Questions 1 and 2 have been withdrawn. Question 3, Sarah Boyack.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what steps it takes to ensure that its labour market strategy protects the rights and pay of people in sectors perceived as undervalued or insecure.
Minister Ivan McKee.
The labour market strategy sets out the Scottish Government's approach to delivering a fair, inclusive labour market that drives our country's economy. The strategy, and particularly its commitment to fair work, reflects all aspects of labour standards and supports the vision of Scotland becoming a fair work nation by 2025. The Scottish Government has repeatedly called for the devolution of employment law, a position supported by the STUC, but whilst it remains reserved to the UK Government, we will do all we can within our current powers to protect workers, including those in precarious employment. For example, in 2019-20, we have promoted payment of the real living wage by increasing funding to Living Wage Scotland to £380,000. We continue to encourage all employers to pay the real living wage, including through our procurement powers, and we are targeting sectors with long-standing low-pay culture and are continuing to reduce the gender pay gap to the lowest level of any part of the UK. We want to ensure that we create a successful labour market that works for everyone by delivering fair work where all employees are treated well and are paid a decent wage.
Sarah Boyack.
Can I thank the Minister for that answer? I very much welcome the fact that there is ongoing work and that the STUC are being made aware of this. Just in the last few days, just reflecting on the care sector, for example, undervalued short-term contracts, there is a real challenge here about making sure we're resilient over the next few weeks. But I wonder what work the Scottish Government is doing to look at how we redesign different sectors of employment so that we create new career opportunities and take employment from what is currently perceived as undervalued or insecure to being more secure, to being valued properly, so that when we have a shock as we have at the moment, people are still in work and they are still able to go to jobs. And I know there is some work being done in the care sector to think about how we can reshape those opportunities. But will the Minister undertake to look at that and to keep the Parliament updated, not just on the care sector, but other sectors where we could see more meaningful change over the next few weeks and months?
Minister.
Yeah, I thank the member for that supplementary. Of course, we all recognise the huge importance of the social care sector, and especially at these particularly difficult times. And I think there's two parts to that. You should be aware that the Scottish Government is committed to rolling out the real living wage in that sector, and that's something we've been delivering for a number of years now, and to continue to work with trade unions to ensure that people in that sector are treated the way they should be according to fair work principles. And there is also the longer term ambition, which we are of course hugely committed to make those jobs more valuable and more secure, and that can be through a range of activities, including as more technology comes into the sector, through innovation, and those jobs become more valuable and more highly regarded. And that's something I think that we're all committed to, and the current situation, I think, especially drives that home.
There are actually 4 potential supplementaries on this, but maybe we'll, if members are concise, we'll get through them. Angus MacDonald.
As the Minister's alluded to in his initial answer, many aspects of employment are reserved, including pay. Does the Minister agree that the full devolution of employment powers would better equip the Scottish Government to protect and improve workers' rights?
Minister Ivan McKee.
Yes, of course we do. It's something we've repeatedly called for, and as I highlighted, it's something that the STUC joins us in those calls, and it's something that I would encourage other parties that haven't already done so in this Parliament to join that call, because the more of those powers we have devolved to this Parliament, the better able we are to deliver for the workers we're talking about.
Neil Findlay.
The Minister says we all recognise the importance of the care sector. Clearly, we don't all recognise the importance of the care sector, or it wouldn't be a sector defined by low pay, insecure work and a lack of career structure. I think care workers will be looking at us now when we say these things, and will be looking for action. One of the ways in which we can change the whole ethos and culture of care is if we return to national collective bargaining. Now, both the employers and the trade unions want that. Will the government facilitate that discussion so we return to national collective bargaining, so we never get in the position again that carers are treated in the way that they are at the moment.
Minister.
The issue of collective bargaining is something that's being addressed by my colleague Jamie Hepburn through the Fair Work First and the work that's going on there. And I know that a number of sectors have been identified and working with the STUC to map out the position on that at the moment and to understand how we take that forward. And I know that that's something that he's engaged in those conversations and taking that forward.
Sandra White.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I want to ask about insecure employment. I have just received an email from workers in a large firm who are on 0 hours contracts and they've just been made unemployed and they're naturally very stressed and worried about that. Can the Cabinet Secretary, the Minister, advise how the Scottish Government is engaging with businesses to promote fair work practices at this very worrying time?
Minister Ivan McKee.
Yeah, thank you for that question. With regards to the 0 hours contract, of course, that legislation is reserved to the UK Government, and the Scottish Government firmly opposes the inappropriate use of such contracts and other non-standard types of employment that offer workers little or no security. And it's something that we are continuing to work to move that agenda forward where we have the power to do so. But as I say, clearly that in its entirety is reserved, which makes it difficult for us to move forward as fast as we would like to on that issue.
And Claire Baker.
Thank you. When talking about insecure and underpaid work, the Minister will be aware that people working in the creative sector are often expected to work for free, either by their performances being free or being extensively underpaid for the work that they do produce. Will the labour market strategy work recognise this sector and these issues that have been identified?
Minister.
Yeah, of course, that sector will be considered by the labour market strategy, and I refer back to my comments earlier that 0 hours contracts and other inappropriate use of non-standard types of employment are something that this government is opposed to, which offer workers little or no job security, and we intend to work with other STUC and others to address that issue as best we can, given the powers that we have in this Parliament.
Thank you very much. Questions 4, 5 and 6 have been withdrawn. Question 7, Michelle Ballantyne.
To ask the Scottish Government what role it has in promoting the uptake of UK Government employability services.
Minister Ivan McKee.
Under the Scotland Act 2016, the Scottish Government's duty is in making sure disabled people and those at risk of long-term unemployment get the support they require to move into and towards work. This is now taken forward through Fair Start Scotland. Fair Start Scotland has already supported over 19,000 people, with over 5,000 people moving into work in a dignified and respectful way. We work with the UK Government and other partners ensuring that services are aligned and delivered for the people who need them most.
Michelle Ballantyne.
I thank the Minister for that. And I agree, Fair Start Scotland is the devolved employability services. But recently it did actually release some troubling statistics showing that only 276 people who left the programme secured a job for a year. And even more troubling is that in May 2019, the Scottish Government said Fair Start Scotland will support 38,000 people over a 3-month period. But a month later, the Scottish Government published material saying the programme will reach a minimum of 38,000 people by 2023. In a parliamentary question I asked to follow up the issue, it was confirmed that the date would be 2023. Clearly, in the current crisis, many people who were already struggling to get a job that met their needs are going to be even more worried now. So can the Minister just clarify these numbers? And can I ask why the targets were moved in relation to this important service?
Minister Ivan McKee.
Yeah, I think it's important the member recognises that we're addressing the most vulnerable people furthest from the labour market through this programme, and it's going to take time to bed in. I would draw attention to the fact already mentioned that 19,000 people have been supported, with 5,000 moving into work. And it's also important to recognise that a recent evaluation report showed that 92% of participants on the programme felt that they'd been treated with dignity and respect, and 80% that they had a choice about the type of support received. And that shows that the approach that this government takes with regard to these employability services.
Thank you very much. Question number 8, Pauline McNeill.
To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to reported concerns that the suspension of grants by Scottish Enterprise is because of organisational mismanagement,
and not success in stimulating demand for strategic investment.
Cabinet Secretary Fiona Hislop.
Scottish Enterprise always has to consider how best to focus available resources, including grants. In 2021, because of its success in stimulating demand for strategic investment, it already has significant commitments for the year and beyond. In fact, to the end of February, 179 offers for large capital grants from Scottish Enterprise, totalling £103 million, have been accepted. This includes £66 million for 48 R&D projects and £29 million for 82 regional selective assistance projects. This is more offers and more associated capital grant funding than in any of the previous 3 financial years. Scottish Enterprise are also committed to working closely with customers and partners to understand the impact of COVID-19 and will tie in with the £2.2 billion worth of measures the Scottish Government are bringing forward by supporting business through the COVID-19 helpline, as well as the Find Business Support Gov UK website, which is the best way for business to find the information they need.
Pauline McNeill.
I'm sure the Cabinet Secretary will appreciate that the landscape has somewhat changed since I laid the question, and I note what she says about the successes of Scottish Enterprise. But she will be aware that it literally ran out of cash well before the end of the financial year, and so that staff who were supposed to be helping businesses were unable to travel without the authority of 2 managers before they could travel. Some suggestions that 40% grants were offered when companies only expected 30%. I'm only asking the Cabinet Secretary if these things are not true. They're certainly heavily rumoured, and when the time is appropriate, and I heavily caveat this, whenever the time is appropriate, would the Cabinet Secretary just look a bit more closely into some of these things, so may absolutely make sure that the reason that they ran out for money is for the reasons that she's given today.
Cabinet Secretary.
It's very important that Scottish Enterprise make sure that every single penny of public funds are there to develop business. That's what they did. I don't base things on rumour. I certainly want to hold them to account. That's my job, and I have already done so. But I am confident in doing so that they have managed to make the most, as I've reported, in terms of maximising in much better figures than even previous years, all of their income. At no point did they stop supporting business, and I want to reassure on that point.
Lawrence Golden.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Recognising the critical role of Scottish Enterprise at this time, can the Cabinet Secretary provide additional information on efforts to upscale the coronavirus business hotline?
Cabinet Secretary.
Clearly, as I've indicated previously, there is heavy demand on that hotline, and also, importantly, on the website. I would encourage all businesses to access the website first. The Find Business Support website has a lot of the frequently asked questions, most of which are about the UK Government's announcement just on Tuesday night and hours from yesterday. Clearly, we want to make sure that the business rates will be applicable immediately from April when they come in, and the release there 100% will be very welcome. But also in terms of some of the additional information that are required, we want to focus the helpline, which has had on Tuesday 2,300 calls. Yesterday it was 1,850. It has the resources that they need. There's 5,000 businesses are now in receipt of the COVID-19 email newsletter, and we're upskilling with 80 additional staff to help screen those calls. But I would appeal to members to direct businesses to the website in the first instance, because we understand a great majority of the questions that are being asked would be dealt with on the website.
Thank you very much to the Ministers and members. We're going to turn now to the next item of business.